The Vernac exploration ship drifted silently through the edge of an unknown star system. Its hull shimmered like glass. Built to hide from primitive eyes, the mission was simple: to map the new worlds near the small yellow star that glowed at the center. Commander Threx sat in the command chair, calm and confident. For decades, the Vernac Confederacy had explored hundreds of such systems. They had found only empty planets, dust and lifeless rocks. The galaxy was wide, and the chance of meeting new intelligent life was close to zero, or so they believed. The scanners hummed softly, reading heat, energy, and radiation. The crew spoke little, each focused on their glowing monitors. Then a small alert blinked in the corner of the main display. It was faint but strange. "Commander," said Officer Lerna, her voice quiet but tense. "I'm reading something near the third planet." "A moving signal." Threx turned his eyes toward the display. "Define moving," he asked. "It's emitting heat, metallic signature." "And ion trails," Lerna replied. "But the pattern is not natural. It looks like engines." "Several of them," the commander frowned. "Show me." The holographic screen expanded, showing several small dots orbiting the blue-green planet. The readings flickered, the signal unstable. Then suddenly, the computer voice echoed through the bridge. "Warning, energy levels exceeding known scale." Recalibrating sensors, the crew froze. The computer never gave that message before. "Recalibrating?" Threx repeated, leaning forward. "What do you mean, exceeding scale?" The lights dimmed as the sensors tried to adjust. New readings appeared, this time clear and terrifying. "There are ships there," Lerna whispered. "Massive ones." The data came flooding in. One of the energy signatures alone matched the total power output of the entire Vernac ship. Another one was 10 times stronger. The crew could hardly believe it. "Run identification," Threx ordered, his voice low. The computer responded after a long pause. "No known match found. Configuration unknown, design unknown. Technology level extreme." The room went silent. Every officer stared at the screen. At first, they thought it must be a scanning error, maybe a reflection from the planet's magnetic field. But then the system began to shake. Alarms started screaming. "Interference detected," shouted one engineer. "Our sensors are being jammed." "By what?" Threx demanded. "By them," came the reply. The alien warships began to move slowly, deliberately, not in a chaotic drift but in formation, precise and controlled, like predators circling their prey. Threx felt a chill run through his veins. "How many ships?" he asked. "At least 12 large, maybe more in the shadows," Lerna answered. "And Commander, they are locking sensors on us." The bridge filled with sharp gasps. A feeling of panic started to spread through the crew. They had never seen such energy readings, never felt so exposed. The commander raised his voice. "Hold position, do not engage, open a wideband signal." Maybe they are explorers like us. They sent a greeting pulse, soft and respectful. It traveled across the void, bouncing from debris and light waves. Then the human fleet answered, not with noise or aggression, but with a short, chilling message. A metallic voice filled the bridge, translated automatically by the ship's AI. "You are entering protected space, nothing more." No threats, no demands, just a simple statement, calm and final. The Vernac bridge fell into complete silence. Lerna turned pale. "Protected space? That means they control this entire sector," she said quietly. Threx nodded slowly. "Whoever they are not primitive." The crew tried to analyze the transmission further, but before they could decode the full spectrum, another strange reading appeared. The energy signature from one of the human ships suddenly spiked, but no weapon was fired. Instead, the Vernac scanners began to malfunction. The data stream overloaded. The sensors screamed with errors. Lines of red text filled the monitors. "System overload," shouted the engineer. "Their power output is frying our instruments." The ship shook slightly as automatic safeties shut down the sensors. The commander grabbed the edge of his chair, his mind racing. "How can this be?" he muttered. "No species should have this kind of technology, Commander," Lerna said softly. "Should we retreat?" Threx looked at the screen again. The alien. No. The human. Warships were still there, motionless, silent, watching. One of them was larger than any Vernac battleship. Its hull black and jagged, glowing with faint blue light. It looked less like a machine and more like a predator waiting to strike. He took a deep breath. "No sudden moves," he said. "Let's see what they do." The humans did nothing. For long minutes, both fleets stayed frozen in silence, staring through the void. Then, without warning, One human ship blinked out of sight. It didn't move, it simply disappeared. Cloaking technology, Lerna whispered, fear clear in her voice. They can vanish from sensors completely. The commander finally gave the order. Retreat to the dark side of the moon, minimal power. We need to think. Engines hummed quietly as the Vernac ship turned away. Every second felt heavy, every heartbeat louder. As they drifted behind the moon's shadow, the sensors finally cooled down, but even there, faint traces of the human fleet still appeared in the distance. They were not chasing, they were simply watching. Threx stood up, staring at the holographic projection of Earth. Mark this day, he said, his voice shaking slightly. The day the Vernac met a species that made our system scream. The crew said nothing. For the first time in generations, they had seen something their science could not explain. Something that made them feel small. In the silent darkness of space, the humans stayed unseen, calm and patient, as if they had expected this encounter all along, and far beyond the stars. Somewhere deep within the human command network, a calm voice spoke in English. Unknown vessel detected, scanning complete. No threat. The humans simply turned their ships away, leaving only mystery behind. The Vernac thought they had discovered a new world. But what they truly discovered was fear. The Vernac ship floated behind the shadow of the moon, silent and hidden. Every light on board was dimmed, every system running on low power. The crew whispered to one another in fear. Afraid that even sound might draw attention, Commander Threx sat motionless, eyes fixed on the flickering holographic map. 12 red dots glowed where the human ships had been. Each dot pulsed with faint energy, alive, waiting. Like monsters beneath deep water, Officer Lerna broke the silence. Commander, the human fleet hasn't moved for over an hour, she said softly. They are just waiting. Threx nodded, his mind racing. They know we're here, he said quietly. They're studying us. Why not destroy us then? Asked another officer. We are helpless if they want war. The commander did not answer. Instead, he stared at the data logs, replaying the strange human message again and again. You are entering protected space. The voice was calm, but something about it felt powerful, like a warning from a predator that didn't need to roar. The ship's AI interrupted the silence. Incoming transmission, it said suddenly. Source unknown. The crew froze. All eyes turned to the main display. A pattern of sound waves appeared, a soft hum followed by a deep, rhythmic tone. It wasn't a language. Not at first, but a signal, like a heartbeat. Translate it, Threx ordered. The AI processed for a moment, then spoke. Translation incomplete, meaning unclear. The heartbeat-like sound grew louder, more intense, until suddenly the display changed again. It wasn't sound anymore, it was an image. A colossal ship filled the screen. Its surface was layered in steel and armor plating, glowing with faint blue veins of energy. It dwarfed the moon behind it, moving with slow, terrifying grace. That's not one of the 12, whispered Lerna. That's a new contact. The crew gasped as readings appeared beside it. Power levels beyond anything they had recorded. Radiation, energy, and gravitational fluctuations, all off the charts. Threx could only stare. That's their command ship, he said slowly. The one giving orders to the others. Before anyone could react, the human fleet began to move. Their formation shifted smoothly, no wasted motion. Every ship turning in perfect unison. It was like watching a machine made of steel and precision. They're aligning toward us, shouted an officer. All ships facing our position. Threx clenched his fists. Hold, he ordered, no aggression. The human fleet did not fire. Instead, a new transmission came through. This time it was clear, translated instantly by the AI. This is the Earth Defense Alliance, the voice said. Strong and cold. You are within restricted human territory. Identify yourself. The Vernac bridge filled with tension. No one dared breathe. Threx swallowed hard. Open a channel, he said, his voice trembling slightly. Transmit response. This is Commander Threx of the Vernac Confederacy. We are explorers, not invaders, he said, his words careful. We come in peace for a few seconds. There was silence. Then a human voice replied. Acknowledged. Maintain position. Then the transmission cut off. No more sound, no explanation. What does that mean? Lerna asked, confusion in her eyes. Threx stared at the silent human fleet. It means they're deciding what to do with us. The tension grew unbearable. The Vernac crew could feel their hearts beating faster. sweat forming on their skin. The humans had said so little, yet their presence filled the entire void with power. The science officer whispered, "Their technology is unlike anything we've ever seen, Commander. They're using energy fields beyond our understanding." Threx leaned forward. "Explain." "They're bending radiation, manipulating gravity, maybe even hiding mass," the officer said. "It's impossible." The commander looked out through the observation screen. The stars beyond seemed to flicker as the human ships moved, their hulls reflecting no light. It was like watching ghosts made of metal and fire. Then suddenly, one of the human ships broke formation. It glided forward toward the Vernac vessel. "Moving slowly, confidently, Commander." "They're approaching," said Lerna. "Range 1,000 kilometers. Hold steady," Threx ordered. The human ship stopped, suspended in space like a giant beast staring at its prey. Then something unexpected happened. A small sphere of light detached from the human ship. It floated gently toward the Vernac vessel, glowing with white and blue light. "Is it a weapon?" Someone shouted. "Negative," said the AI. "No energy buildup detected, possibly a drone." The sphere stopped a few meters away from their ship and began projecting something, an image. A symbol, circular, with 2 wings on either side and a blue earth in the middle. "Their flag," Threx said softly. "The emblem of their kind," and then the drone transmitted a message directly into the ship's communication system. A single line of text appeared on the screen. "Do not be afraid. We only protect what is ours." The word sent chills down everyone's spine. There was no arrogance, no cruelty, just calm strength. The sphere turned and floated back toward the human ship, merging seamlessly into its hull. And then, as suddenly as they came, the entire human fleet began to fade one by one. The massive ships vanished into the darkness, their signatures disappearing completely, cloaking again, whispered Lerna. "They're gone." The commander stood up slowly. "No," he said, "they're watching, we just can't see them." He turned to his crew, his voice quiet but heavy. "Send a message back to High Command. Tell them we found a species unlike any other. Tell them the humans have awakened." The bridge fell silent again. Outside, the stars looked the same, but everyone on that ship knew the galaxy had just changed forever. The humans had not fired a single shot, yet they had shown the universe what real power looked like. And deep in the void, unseen and silent, the human admiral aboard the command ship spoke to his crew. "First contact successful, they understand the warning. Maintain watch." The human fleet turned away, disappearing into hyperspace, leaving behind only whispers and fear. For the Vernac, this was no longer an exploration mission. It was the beginning of legend, the legend of the humans, whose warships could wake the stars and make alien systems scream. The halls of the Vernac High Command were never silent, but today they trembled with fear. Data from Commander Threx's expedition streamed across dozens of giant screens. Red graphs, energy readings, and images of the human war fleet filled every wall. Scientists, admirals, and council leaders argued over every detail, voices overlapping in panic. "This must be a malfunction," one elder shouted. "No species can create power at that scale." "It is not an error," replied Chief Scientist Varn, his tendrils twitching nervously. "Their energy signatures are clean, stable, and deliberate. They control forces we cannot even measure." At the center of the great control chamber, the Supreme Chancellor watched silently, her eyes fixed on the image of the massive human command ship. Its black hull seemed to swallow the stars around it. "What are we looking at, truly?" she asked quietly. "A fleet or a warning?" No one answered. The question itself felt heavy. Another voice rose from the shadows. Admiral Kess, veteran of 100 battles. "If these humans possess such technology, we must prepare for war. They could strike any system without detection." Chief Varn turned sharply. "War? Against them? You saw what they did. They disabled our sensors by existing, not by attacking. A single human warship could erase our fleets before we even detect it." The chamber filled with arguments again. Some wanted to hide, some wanted to fight, and others suggested surrender before contact even escalated. Meanwhile, far above the planet, the Vernac communication satellite still picked up faint signals from the region of Sol. The human transmission kept repeating every few hours. "You are within restricted human territory, identify yourself." Each time it played, the translation systems glitched for a moment, as if the very signal carried power strong enough to disrupt their machines. Inside the control room, panic began to shift into something deeper. Fear mixed with disbelief. "The humans do not seek conquest," said a calm voice near the back. It was Scholar Elior, an old historian of extinct species. "They only reacted when our explorers approached their home. Their message is simple: they protect what is theirs." The Chancellor turned to him. "And what do you suggest?" Elior bowed slightly. "We study them from afar, not as enemies but as survivors. No peaceful species builds weapons like that unless their own world tried to destroy them first." A hush spread through the room. The words struck truth. Images flashed again on the central screen. The human homeworld, blue and green, alive but scarred by history. Volcanoes, storms, radiation traces, and endless oceans of movement. It looked peaceful. Yet every reading said it was a world of danger. Chief Varn adjusted the data feed. "Look here," he said. "Temperature fluctuations, gravitational pressure, unpredictable weather patterns. Their world is a death trap, and yet they live there." Admiral Kez frowned. "Then they must be forged by their own planet." "Hardened from birth," the Chancellor nodded slowly. "A Deathworld species," she whispered. "Strong enough to adapt, strong enough to rule." The entire council fell silent. The realization sank in. Humanity was not an empire built by conquest. It was built by survival. At that same moment, deep in orbit around the Verna capital world, the sensor screamed again. "Unidentified signal detected," shouted the technician. "Origin unknown. Direction toward us." Everyone in the room turned to the display. A small blue dot appeared, moving slowly through space, then stopping just outside their system. "Magnify," the Chancellor ordered. The image grew, revealing a metallic probe, small and smooth, bearing the same circular emblem the explorers had seen. 2 wings around a blue Earth. "It's them again," whispered Chief Varn. "The humans." The probe transmitted a message directly into the chamber's network. This time the translation was instant and perfect. "We mean you no harm, but we see you now. Do not send ships near Earth again." The lights dimmed. The message echoed in every control center, every ship, every terminal, a clear, firm voice that spoke with authority born from strength. The Chancellor stared at the hologram for a long time. "They know where we are," she said softly. "They found us faster than we found them." Admiral Kez clenched his fists. "Then the war is already lost." "No," Elior replied quietly. "There will be no war, not if we are wise." The Chancellor rose from her seat. "Issue an order to all exploration fleets, effective immediately. No vessels will approach the human sector." The order was broadcast across the Empire. Entire exploration missions were recalled overnight. Scientists sealed away the human data under high security, but whispers still spread through the population. Tales of the Deathworlders, of ships that could vanish into the dark, of scanners that screamed in terror. In the following days, the panic began to evolve into something else. Respect, awe, and a deep, silent curiosity. Who were the humans, really? How had they risen from such a brutal world to command fleets that shook the stars? One scientist dared to ask the question aloud. If they survived their own planet, what would happen if the galaxy threatened them? No one answered, but everyone knew the truth. The humans would not fall, they would rise stronger than ever. As the council dismissed the meeting, the Chancellor looked once more at the silent blue planet glowing on the display. "For now we stay away," she whispered. "But the galaxy will remember this day, the day we met the Deathworlders." Outside, the Verna capital floated peacefully under twin suns. But deep in space, invisible eyes continued to watch. Human satellites, long-range probes, and listening beacons quietly tracked every signal. Every word, humanity was not asleep. Humanity was awake, and somewhere, beyond the dark edge of space, a human admiral smiled. "They've learned fear," he said softly. "Good. Fear keeps the galaxy safe." The Vernak thought the panic had ended, but in truth it had just begun. Because when humanity awakens, the universe listens. The Vernak Confederacy had fallen into uneasy silence. Across 1,000 systems, ships moved slower. Communication lines buzzed with nervous whispers, and every leader waited for news from the capital. No one dared to speak the humans' name aloud anymore. They were called simply the Deathworlders, a word spoken with both fear and respect. In the Grand Control Chamber, the Chancellor sat alone before a dark screen. The lights were dimmed, her reflection faint against the polished metal. Suddenly, the silence broke. "High signal detected," reported the technician. "Unknown source. Same frequency as the last human probe. Patch it through," the Chancellor ordered. Her voice calm but heavy. The lights flickered. and the main display came to life. A single blue symbol appeared, the same circular emblem of Earth. 2 wings, 1 shadow, 1 light, wrapped around a spinning planet. Then a line of text appeared beneath it. Written in clear translation, "We wish no war, but we remember." The Chancellor leaned forward. "What do they mean by remember?" she asked quietly. Chief Scientist Varn entered the chamber, his eyes wide. "It's not a message, Chancellor," he said. "It's a data transfer." Before they could react, the system filled with light. Streams of information flooded the network. Holographic projectors activated on their own, and the chamber transformed into a floating storm of images. At first it looked like chaos, fire, smoke, and ruins. Then the translation program caught up, and the story began to unfold. It was the history of humanity. The Vernac leaders watched in stunned silence as images of Earth appeared. The blue planet turned gray with clouds of ash. Cities burned, oceans boiled, and yet through it all, humans survived. The hologram showed creatures fighting with stone and metal, then with fire and machines, empires rising and falling. Endless wars, floods, famines, and still they endured. Chief Varn whispered. They fought each other. For centuries, the Chancellor's eyes were wide. How could they survive so much? The hologram shifted again, showing humans in spacesuits walking on barren worlds, building cities among stars. The Vernac could see the evolution. Pain, war, survival, unity. The narrator's voice in the message spoke calmly. We learned peace through war, strength through loss, and unity through struggle. Our world tried to destroy us, but we endured. And we learned to protect. The next image showed the Earth from space, scarred but alive, orbiting ships like gleaming sentinels. Then came the final words, projected across the entire chamber. We do not conquer, we guard, do not provoke us, and you will never see our warships again. The message ended and silence returned. No one moved. Every being in the room stared at the empty air, hearts pounding. This is not a threat, whispered Chief Varn. It's a statement of truth, Admiral Kess, standing near the entrance, clenched his jaw. And a warning. The Chancellor slowly sat down. A warning born from history, she said. They have seen more destruction than we can imagine. That is why they fear nothing. Outside the capital, hundreds of Vernac ships waited for orders. Every captain wanted to know if they should prepare for defense or retreat deeper into their own borders. The order came simple and clear. Stand down, the Chancellor said. There will be no conflict. Humanity has spoken. Across the stars, fleets deactivated weapons. The Vernac Navy returned home, and the panic began to calm, but in that calmness, something else grew. Curiosity. Who were these humans really? And what made them so powerful that even peace felt intimidating? In one of the research sectors, a group of young scientists secretly analyzed the human message. They slowed every frame, examined every word, and found hidden layers of code embedded in the holograms. Look at this, one of them whispered. There's something behind the video. An encrypted message. They decrypted it carefully, layer by layer until new words appeared on the screen. Smaller, older, written in human tongue before translation. We tried peace once, the galaxy burned. Now we watch from the dark. So it never happens again, the scientists froze. The message wasn't for the Vernac government. It was for anyone curious enough to dig deeper. Chief Varn received the report an hour later, and he could barely speak. They hide warnings inside peace messages, he murmured. Every word has a purpose. Meanwhile, far across the stars, aboard the human flagship EAS Sentinel, Admiral Reeves stood before a vast window of black space. Watching distant light trails fade, a young officer approached. Transmission confirmed, Admiral. They've received the message, Reeve nodded slowly. And the hidden code? Also delivered, the officer said. They will find it if they dig too deep. Good, Reeve replied. Let them wonder. Fear will keep them cautious. Curiosity will keep them distant. She turned to look at the Earth projection glowing behind her. We fought extinction to earn this peace. We won't lose it to fear or arrogance. The ship's engines hummed quietly as it drifted through the silent dark, carrying humanity's message and a mix of truth, warning and memory, into the endless night. Back on the Vernac homeworld, the Chancellor stood at her balcony. Looking up at the twin moons, she could almost feel their presence watching from the shadows. They are not monsters, she whispered. They are survivors, Chief Varn bowed beside her. Yes, Chancellor, but survival that sharp can cut both ways. She turned toward him. her eyes filled with both respect and unease. Then we must make sure never to stand on the blade. Above them, unseen, one human satellite shifted slightly in orbit, its camera turning for a final scan. The silent eye blinked once, then vanished into hyperspace. The message had been delivered, the galaxy had been warned, and for the first time in history, the stars themselves seemed to whisper one word in every language. Humanity. Weeks passed after the human message, and the Vernac Confederacy pretended to live in peace again. Ships returned to their routes. Scientists went back to their labs. But the fear never truly left. Every conversation about humanity ended in silence, and every officer still checked their scanners twice. Yet curiosity is a dangerous thing. It whispers louder than fear. It drives minds to touch the flame even when they know it burns. On a distant science outpost named Tareth 9, a small group of researchers watched the recordings of the human fleet again and again. Their leader, Dr. Ril Morath, believed he had found a way to understand human technology. They used gravity fields we can't reproduce, he told his team. But if we can observe one of their ships closely, even for a few seconds, we could change everything. His assistant frowned. The Chancellor banned all contact. Doctor, Ril Morath smiled. We are scientists, not soldiers. Observation is not war. Hidden under the shadow of an asteroid, they launched a stealth probe. A sphere no bigger than a fruit, coated in black crystal, silent and invisible to ordinary sensors. Its target was the third planet of the Sol system, Earth. The probe slipped through the dark void, dancing between gravity wells, masking itself behind cosmic dust. It took 3 weeks to arrive. During that time, the humans detected nothing, or so the Vernac believed. When the probe reached lunar orbit, it began transmitting weak scans. It recorded cities glowing on the dark side of Earth, fleets moving across oceans, and strange metallic towers rising from the surface. Each signal returned clearer than before. Magnificent, whispered Ril Morath, watching from his station. They have orbital defenses, but they are asleep, blind to us. But then, the readings changed. The probe's sensors picked up something massive. A network of satellites circling Earth in perfect formation. Their signals were faint, as if asleep, until one of them blinked. The room on Tareth 9 fell silent. Did it just move? The technician asked before anyone could respond. The image from the probe, distorted static, filled the screen. Then the final transmission arrived. A single frame of blinding white light. Then nothing. No explosion. No data, no debris, just emptiness. What happened? Ril Morath shouted. Check the link, recalibrate. The technician's voice trembled. There's nothing to recalibrate, sir. The probe no longer exists. At that same moment, across light years, a faint pulse appeared on the Vernac Central Network. It was a human signal, short and terrifyingly clear. Do not send probes again. The control room filled with whispers. Every scientist felt their skin crawl. They had not just been detected, they had been watched. The Chancellor was notified within minutes. She listened to the report in silence, her eyes cold. So, she said slowly, they destroyed it before it even saw them. Chief Varn nodded. Instantly, Chancellor, our instruments detected no energy surge. Which means their weapon was faster than light or beyond our physics. She leaned back, her voice almost a whisper. They warned us once, and we didn't listen. Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship EAS Sentinel, the same Admiral Reeve received a quiet confirmation from her officers. Unauthorized alien probe neutralized. No residual trace, Reeve nodded. Good. Make sure they understand we were merciful this time. One younger officer hesitated. Should we send another warning? Reeve looked out at the stars. No need, they already know we saw them. Fear will do the rest. Back on Tareth 9, chaos erupted. Some scientists wanted to flee. Others argued to hide the evidence. Ril Morath stood in shock, staring at the blank monitor. They didn't destroy it with a weapon, he murmured. They erased it like it never existed. Within hours, security ships arrived and sealed the research base. The Chancellor's personal command came directly. No one speaks of this, all records erased. All involved detained for questioning, but rumors are like smoke. Impossible to contain soon across the Vernac worlds. Stories spread about the humans who could kill with silence, about the probe that vanished before it even screamed. In taverns and academies, they called it the blink. The moment the universe remembered who ruled the dark. A frightened young officer on one cargo ship whispered to his captain, Do you think they will come for us next? The captain shook his head, staring into the stars. No, child, they don't hunt the weak. They only punish the foolish. And far away, the humans watched quietly. Their sensors followed every Vernac transmission. Every signal, every rumor. Admiral Reeve smiled faintly. They will stay away now, she said. The message is clear. Her second-in-command asked, Do you think they'll ever try again? Reeve's gaze hardened. Curiosity is part of life. Someone always touches the flame twice. That is why we keep the watch. Outside her window, Earth shone below, wrapped in its invisible shield of satellites and weapons that never needed to fire. Deep in space, the Vernac Council gathered once more. Panic turning into quiet obedience, the Chancellor spoke softly. Erase every trace of this experiment. From this day, no one approaches the humans. Not even with thought, Chief Varn bowed. Yes, Chancellor. And as the meeting ended, the chamber lights flickered once more. A small reminder that even their own systems could be touched, watched, and silenced by unseen eyes. That night, the Vernac capital slept uneasily. Knowing the humans were awake, the stars above looked peaceful, but the darkness between them whispered truth. Humanity did not rule through conquest. Humanity ruled through memory, through the fear of silence. And in that silence, the galaxy learned, some warnings do not need to be repeated. For months after the probe vanished, the Vernac Confederacy lived in frightened peace. No one dared to enter the human star system. No ship crossed their border, not even by mistake. The galaxy had gone quiet, as if holding its breath. But silence never lasts forever. One ordinary day, the skies above the Vernac capital changed. A strange signal appeared out of nowhere. Too clean to be noise, too soft to be threat. The planetary defense grid woke instantly. Alarms rising, fighters launching. Unknown vessel approaching, shouted a controller. No weapon signature detected, but it's inside our perimeter. The Chancellor rushed to the control balcony. Put it on screen, she ordered. The display flared bright white, then focused. A single ship hung in orbit, sleek, black, triangular, moving without visible engines. The moment the sensors tried to scan it, they crashed. Lines of red code flooding every monitor, Chief Varn whispered. It's them again. Before anyone could act, a voice filled the entire command hall. Calm, firm, perfectly translated into their language. Do not fear, it said. We come to speak. The sound was different from the earlier warnings. It was softer, almost human. The Chancellor raised her hand. Open communications. A beam of blue light shone from the human ship, forming a holographic figure in the center of the chamber. It was a woman, tall, dressed in a dark uniform with silver markings. Her eyes calm, her posture unshaken. Every soldier in the room froze. I am Captain Reeve, Earth Defense Alliance, she said. I speak for humanity. The Chancellor hesitated, then bowed slightly. You enter without permission, she said. Yet you speak of peace, Reeve nodded. We did not come to invade, Chancellor, but to explain. We have watched your fear, and it was never our intention to rule through it. The words echoed strangely. Carrying both kindness and warning, Chief Varn stepped forward. Your people destroyed our probe without trace, he said quietly. You erased it from existence. Reeve turned her gaze toward him. It broke a promise, she replied simply. We guard what is ours, nothing more. Her tone carried no anger. Just fact, a law of nature spoken aloud. The Chancellor studied her carefully. Your weapons could end us, she said. Why speak now? Reeve smiled faintly. Because we do not want the galaxy to fear us. Fear leads to conflict. We prefer understanding, she gestured. And the hologram around her changed, showing images. Humans rebuilding cities, helping other colonies, healing planets poisoned by war. This is what we do now, she said. We protect life, even the lives of those who once feared us. The Vernac Council members looked at one another. Unsure what to feel, Reeve continued. Your people once called us monsters, but you never asked what made us strong. You see our warships, but not the storms that forged them. You see our silence, but not the screams we endured to earn it. The room stayed still. Every word carried weight. The Chancellor finally spoke. Then tell us, Captain Reeve, why build such power if you only wish for peace? Reeve looked at her directly, her eyes reflecting light like twin stars. Because peace is fragile, she said. Because somewhere out there, beyond your maps, there are things that do not speak, do not negotiate, and we have faced them. She paused, letting her words settle. We built our fleets not to conquer, but to stand between chaos and those who cannot fight it. A long silence followed. The Chancellor's expression softened. Then humanity guards more than Earth, she said quietly. Reeve nodded. We guard the balance. We remember what happens when the strong ignore the weak. Her image flickered slightly. Communication delay crossing light years. We did not destroy your probe out of hatred, Chancellor, but mercy. Had it reached deeper into our world, it would have triggered defenses you cannot imagine. You would have lost entire systems before we could stop it. The Vernac Council gasped. Reeve's calm voice made it sound like truth, not boast. The Chancellor straightened slowly. What do you want from us? Reeve smiled. Nothing, just respect our borders. And remember that fear is not the same as understanding. Then her hologram began to fade, but before disappearing completely, she said one last thing. Tell your people this. Humanity does not sleep, humanity watches. The light vanished. The human ship outside shimmered once, then accelerated, disappearing into the darkness faster than any known drive could track. The Vernac control hall stayed silent for a long time. Every officer looked at the empty space where she had stood. Chief Varn finally spoke. She didn't threaten us, but I felt like I was standing before a storm. The Chancellor nodded slowly. No, Doctor, you stood before a wall that holds the storm back. Later that night, she stood alone on her balcony, gazing at the stars. We feared them because we did not understand them, she whispered. Now we understand enough to be afraid for the right reasons. Above the Vernac capital, where her eyes could not see, one faint blue light blinked once, a human sentinel satellite, left behind for quiet observation. Far away aboard the ES Sentinel, Captain Reeve sat alone, watching the recorded feed from her meeting. She smiled faintly. They'll stay cautious now, she said. But they will also stay safe, her second officer asked softly. And us, Captain? What do we do next? Reeve looked out at the endless black. We keep the watch, she said. That is what humanity does best. The engines rumbled softly as the massive warship turned toward the stars, fading into the void once more. The Vernac people slept under their twin moons, believing the danger had passed, not knowing that somewhere, in the darkness between galaxies, humanity's eyes never closed, and the universe whispered again, the same word in every ancient tongue, humanity. Decades passed, but the day humanity revealed itself was never forgotten. Across the stars, the story spread like light through dark water, retold in whispers, sung in fear and taught in secret classrooms where young species learned the laws of survival. They called it the Day of Panic, the day scanners screamed. The day the galaxy discovered that monsters could be merciful. On the Vernac homeworld, life returned to peace. The markets opened again, the fleets patrolled their trade routes, and children played beneath silver skies. Yet deep in every government archive, sealed beneath layers of protection, there remained one forbidden file. It was labeled simply, Humanity. No one touched it, but everyone knew it was there. A reminder written in silence. The Chancellor who once faced Captain Reeve had grown old, her skin dim and her voice slower, but her eyes still carried the same light. One evening she stood before the great Academy of Knowledge, speaking to a new generation of explorers. Our ancestors once believed knowledge had no danger, she said, her voice steady. But then we looked toward Earth, and the stars looked back. The hall was silent. Every young cadet listened. Remember this, she continued. Power does not always roar. Sometimes it watches, and sometimes it protects far beyond the Vernac borders. In the deep trade lanes of the Orion Arm, merchants still spoke of the humans. Some said they saw them at the edge of dying worlds, saving stranded ships appearing from nowhere and vanishing again. Others swore that their sensors once flickered, a brief flash of something enormous, then nothing. No one ever proved it, but everyone believed it. In the archives of the Zith Coalition, an ancient enemy of the Vernac, scholars studied fragments of human transmissions. They found music woven with strange mathematics, frequencies that affected their machines, and messages hidden in melodies. One translation read, "Peace is not the absence of war, it is the strength to end it." The Zith scientists debated for years whether it was philosophy or threat, but no one dared to test it. Meanwhile, new species rising from young worlds learned humanity's story as legend, a tale told by teachers under star-filled skies. They came from a Deathworld, the teachers said, where storms tore the seas and the ground shook beneath their feet. Their world tried to kill them, but they learned to live. And when they reached the stars, they carried that strength with them. Among explorers, the phrase, "Don't wake the Deathworlders," became an unspoken rule. In one distant nebula, a fleet of pirates attempted to raid an abandoned station marked with an old Earth emblem. They laughed when the scanners warned them away. They fired upon the structure and disappeared in an instant. No wreckage, no signal, just silence. The story reached every corner of known space, spreading more fear than war ever could. On Earth itself, humanity watched the galaxy quietly. The great fleets no longer patrolled near alien borders. They stayed hidden, cloaked, patient, guarding the fragile peace they had built. Admiral Reeve, now older and gray, walked the halls of the EAS Sentinel. Her hand brushed the cold metal walls as she looked through the observation deck. Earth hung below, blue, calm, and alive. Her second-in-command spoke softly. "The Vernac send peaceful transmissions every year. They still thank us for mercy." Reeve smiled faintly. "They learned what most never do," she said. "That mercy is not weakness, it's control." The officer nodded. "Do you think they'll ever forget?" Reeve turned her gaze to the stars. "No one forgets fear that comes with respect," she said. "And no one forgets the day humanity stopped hiding." A low hum filled the air as the ship prepared for another deep space patrol. Beyond the windows, the void stretched endlessly. But it was no longer empty. Humanity's unseen network of guardians filled the dark, silent but awake. In the Vernac archives, a historian named Elier, descendant of the scholar who once defended humanity, opened the forbidden file for the first time in generations. He read every record, every signal, every word from Captain Reeve. When he finished, he whispered to himself, "They didn't conquer the stars. They earned them." He closed the file and added a new entry, one that would stay hidden for future ages. Humanity, the watchers of the void across the galaxy. Unknown worlds continued to grow. Civilizations rose and fell, yet every advanced species kept a quiet mark on their maps. A circle around a small yellow star, the place no one dared to enter. The younger races asked their elders why that region was forbidden, and the elders answered the same way each time. "Because that is where the Deathworlders live," they said. The ones who ended war by surviving it. In time, humanity became less a people and more a legend. A name whispered with awe. Children dreamed of seeing them. Warriors prayed never to meet them. And scientists argued whether they still watched at all. But sometimes, in the deepest corners of space, a lost ship would send a distress call, and before help could arrive, a shadow would pass over the stars. The call would go silent, and hours later, the ship would be found and repaired, fueled and gently guided home. No one ever saw who helped them, but they all said the same thing. When we looked outside, we saw a light in the dark, blue and cold, and then it was gone. The galaxy never truly saw humanity again, but it always felt them, the unseen guardians of the void, the quiet power that reminded the stars that peace existed only because someone strong enough chose to protect it. And so the legend lived on, carved into history not by war or conquest but by silence and mercy. For the day the aliens detected humanity's warships, they did not just see strength, they saw the spirit of a world that refused to die, and the stars still whisper their name. Again and again, through endless time, humanity remembers.